About a year back, I held a songwriting workshop here at Paradise Road in Simonstown, and was attended by a group of 12 or so. And a number of those participants have been urging me for a while to have another one. Now we have lockdown. In fact, we have a further 2 weeks of lockdown. 3 weeks in total. Our lockdown period has been extended from 3 weeks to 5 weeks. So the lockdown kind of precludes that concept. So I thought, well, perhaps it makes sense for this workshop to be enacted via this medium, and it might find some resonance with you. I hope it does. Please let me know. So, songwriting is an activity, perhaps a little mysterious in some ways, because those who are not engaged in it find it mystifying as to how such a thing can arise. In many ways, it's like painting. It's truly mystifying how somebody manages, by way of a brush and paints and lines and dabs, to create something that is visually remarkable. And in that way, the songsmith kind of does the same thing. They would use their voice, their imagination, their instrument, and pull these elements together into a song that can then be delivered to an audience with hopefully some meaningful result. The first point about a song, I think, is that for me, it's a dialogue. A song is a dialogue between the singer, who might also be the songwriter, and the audience. If that dialogue is missing, then, or if the audience is missing, then it's a monologue. That doesn't mean to say that the song isn't art or isn't meritorious, but in my view, it lacks an essential ingredient. It's perhaps like mixing up a cake and then not putting it into the oven to get it to rise. So with a song being a dialogue and with the audience playing a key role in that, it's important, I believe, to always bear the audience in mind when crafting a song. So clearly it is a secondary step, because the primary step would be to get to a point where you even have a song going on in the first place. But when it is going on, it is very useful to periodically review that song through the eyes of the audience. Not always easy to do. Why I say this is because, for example, it's very often not relevant to an audience whether you are playing a diminished chord, or for that matter, whether your song even has more than one chord. I'm going to demonstrate to you just now one of my songs which has only one chord. The reason it only has one chord is because I use a looper, and when you use the loop will only be in one chord, and therefore you're constrained by, you can't go to any of the other usual chords that you might want to go to. So that imposes a constraint on you, but it can nonetheless resonate with an audience. So the complexity of the arrangement, the complexity of the melody, and the complexity of the lyric are not in themselves the objective. The objective is to reach the audience, in my view. People may differ. So a song is comprised probably of three primary elements. For me, the key element is the melody. Mozart said that for him, the business of writing music was about liberating a melody and supporting that melody by way of the orchestration and the harmonies, or the chords, as we refer to them as chords. So the melody is vital. Very often, as modern songwriters with a guitar or even a piano, we tend to be chord orientated. So we tend to be playing a sequence of chords, and then a melody will arrive out of that. What I'm suggesting is that that's not necessarily the best way to work. It would be preferable, in my view, if you could come up with a melody in your mind without an instrument, or of course on a piano it's nice because you can play just a melody and then let the chords follow that. McCartney said of the song Yesterday that that melody came to him in a dream, and he remembered that melody and then rushed to the piano to find the chords that would orchestrate that melody. So melody number one. Number two, and this is now not in any order of importance necessarily, but then the orchestration. And of course you have numerous options there. You know, you could give the song a minor lilt, or you could give it a jazzy orchestration. You could give it a rock orchestration. That all forms part of the accompaniment to the song. And for these purposes, let's talk about the chords. So the melody is now in existence, maybe in rudimentary format. We now look at which chords would fit. Not always easy to do. And then thirdly, and certainly not least, the lyric. People often ask what comes first, the lyric or the chords. They never ask whether the melody came first, interestingly, isn't it? But sometimes, for me, the lyric does arrive first, obviously, or not obviously, but very often not in complete form, but in the form of a phrase or a concept around which certain words emerge. So the lyric then precedes the song, but very often, of course, our songs are riff-driven. So there's a riff there, which we love playing, and we dig the vibe of it, and now we need to find some words that would fit that vibe. Difficult to find words in that environment that are not contrived. It's important for the lyrics to be authentic, and what I mean by that is the audience will feel if your lyric comes from your soul, and equally they will sense that the lyric is perhaps contrived. A writing instructor told me that, for example, cliches are out. Now, cliches can't possibly be out because there are many cliches around in songs, and they do have a place. But I think what she meant is you can do better than a cliche. You can do better than a cliche. Okay, so how do we write a song? Well, how do I write a song? I'm a guitar-orientated songwriter, and for me, I'm blessed in that I have a number of guitars. If I look in front of me, I have a Squire Telecaster there. I have a 12-string guitar. I have a Dreadnought Cutaway 12 fret, which is very good for the blues. Behind me, I have this small body guitar, which has a very sibilant, classical kind of a mood to it. And then over here, I have what is a songwriter's dream, a baritone guitar. And the reason the baritone guitar is so useful is because if you were to play an E chord on an ordinary guitar, it would sound like this. So that's an E chord. For those of you looking closely, you may notice that I was actually fingering the A because the baritone is tuned differently. The E string is the second thickest string, and this bottom string here is a B string. So when you finger the E shape, it's actually a B chord. Because this guitar is tuned B to B as opposed to E to E on an ordinary guitar. But what this does, it gives you a different melody scale around which to sing. So if you're used to playing in G, when I came down, you were around. So it places your melody into a lower and a different place from where you would be with one guitar. If you have only one guitar, then try to vary your palette by using a capo. So just put the capo on the 5th fret, for example, and start fingering chords around there, which will place you into a different zone rather than always being here in the 1st position. Okay, so lastly for today, and our next sessions will follow on from here. I don't want to make these too long, but I do want to just tell you a little bit about another tool that was very meaningful to me and not very expensive. I bought this Zoom G1 pedal very recently for 800 Rand. And it was pretty much out of the box. It was used. It's a complete guitar effects pedal, but it also has a looper. So, and that's amazing. So for 800 Rand, you've got the whole gamut, plus you have a looper. And what a looper does is this. I'll show you. So for example, get a bit of that beat going. So pretty soon you have quite a useful backing. You have bass, you have percussion, and now you can, very simple stuff, but it gives you a wide range of possibilities. I'm feeling like a desert, mean and dry. I'm permanently thirsty, and my memory's on fire. I'm driving through the great Karoo into the blue of the old Karoo. So now you're kind of stuck in there. You can see it's just one chord. It's an E chord. Well, B chord, but E fingering, right? So to vary that just a bit and make it a bit more interesting, stick in something. Looper, it's a gas. See you next time.